Hi and welcome to Deep Dive Cinema, the only comic book and movie podcast starring two brothers filmed in this room specifically. I'm Elliott.
Actually, I did rent this out while you were away last weekend for another Two Brother Ensemble podcast.
God damn it.
Yeah, actually, it was three brothers, so I guess you're technically right, but
yeah.
one of them was just a tech guy.
Okay, well, guess it's going to change every time.
Well, you know what? I thought I was going to do the intro this week, but I guess not. This podcast is on the rocks.
Conflict on episode 2.
All right, leave us a comment. Which of us two would win in a fight?
Look at the picture of our faces and just judge from that.
He's got glasses, so...
Oh, yeah. Bad perspective.
Yeah, true. Yeah, that'll be your downfall.
I'll grab your beards.
Oh, damn, you're right. Okay, well, let's get into things. Issue 2, here we go.
Issue 2, yeah. We're gonna start again with the crap comic book character of the week.
Is that what we've officially decided to call it?
We'll probably find a pun at probably like issue 7.
Crapter.
Crap. Yeah, no.
Wait till we'll work on it.
Issue 7 will be like, oh, of course we should have been calling it that the whole time.
It just says character of the week at the moment, so we'll go with that.
We'll go with that. But yeah, I'm taking it this time, and I'm going with a Flash character.
Ooh, Flash or the Flash?
The Flash?
I just decided to throw that. I mean, I presume they're the same character.
Yes.
Not Flash Gordon, just for any of you who might be confused.
The Flash, and this character's name is either, again, there's a the in there sometimes and sometimes there isn't.
Yeah.
But either Chunk or the Chunk.
Did you just search that like chunky cat meme? And that's what he chunk.
No, because I was reading some of the Flash and.
What kind of era?
This would have been like 70s, I think. 70s, maybe
That's
early 80s.
The majority of crap comic book characters are 60s, 70s, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. You know, this guy might have actually been early 80s, I can't remember, but he was, I was reading it and there was so many Flash characters who were like, oh, I'm also a fast guy.
Yeah, I got the Speed Force too.
And then every now and then there's a character who's makes some variant of a hurricane, and so the Flash has to run
wizard.
He has to run backwards inside the hurricane to make it stop, and then he just punches the guy once and it's all over.
I think that actually happened in episode 1 of the CW Flash TV show.
Oh, did it?
Yeah, like episode 1, they were like, well, we've exhausted this now.
No, because that happened like every issue. He's like, time to run backwards. They managed to fit it in every time.
Did he inspire Superman from the film where he flies backwards around the world to make time travel happen or something?
Yeah, of course. So, yeah, no,
Okay. His name is Chunk.
His name is Chunk, and he has all of the powers of a black hole.
Okay.
But sometimes also a wormhole. It kind of changes.
Look, the average viewer's not going to know what either of those are, really, or what their properties are, so we can just kind of
I think a black hole sucks everything in,
okay,
and then a wormhole is like a tunnel from one part of space to another part of space.
Wait, so if a black hole sucks everything in, where does it go?
It just destroys it. It's like it's like a blender. It just sucks everything in and tears it to shreds, and that's it.
Oh.
Yeah.
But it doesn't like destroy it completely. It's not like it ceases to exist when it goes in there.
No, it just like on an atomical structure, it blows it up, I think. It tears it to shreds or something. Wow. I don't do physics, but I'm pretty sure that's how it works.
If anyone does physics, look, you can't do physics and comic books. You just reach peak nerd, so go to a gym or something.
Unsubscribe.
Yeah, this is the end for you.
So I picked this character because, unlike the other ones who are very dumb, and so... Because there's so many Flash characters who are just very dumb. Like, he's got one who I might talk about one time who's called the Turtle, who's the slowest man alive.
Oh, right. So is it like a rabbit and the hare situation?
Kind of, yeah.
He's slow and steady wins the race.
So
the last issue ever of Flash, he just gets finally beaten by
the Turtle.
God.
But sometimes it's hard to fit those into like a film. How'd you make something this ridiculous? Yeah. So instead I picked a character who's got like a cool concept, but they just did nothing with it. So how I would like to do
so
something...
we could reimagine them. Yeah.
Okay, so the story of... His name is Chuck Runt.
Okay, so if it folded in on itself like a black hole, it becomes chunk.
Yeah, because you think like, oh, unt, but that's chunt, not chunk.
Chunt is the character, I think, from the Hello from the Magic Tavern podcast, which you should listen to that one rather than this one, to be honest. It's much better.
He's a talking badger, isn't he?
Yeah, I think it's chunt.
Yeah, it is, because it's chunt, please.
Oh, I haven't listened to it in a while. But I should re-listen to that. That's a good podcast.
Yeah. Welcome to this podcast where we tell you to just listen to other podcasts.
Yeah, I'm going to be real with you. Their production quality is a lot better than ours.
Yeah. Okay, well, so he made... His name was Charles Runt, and he developed like a teleportation device, like a matter... there's like a matter mover, but it's just a teleportation device.
Like some kind of accelerator or something.
Yeah, so he was teleporting himself from one side of the hit city to the other. Sideways.
Okay. Damn, DC. Hold on to that idea.
But then something went wrong. It doesn't explain what went wrong, but something went wrong along the way.
Yeah.
So he did what every normal human would do when holding a machine that's going wrong. He ate it.
Okay.
He ate it, and he was like, "I've stopped it from imploding by eating it. I've saved the day," which meant that then he had the powers to teleport.
Makes sense.
Wait,
so you're telling me if I eat the Flash, I can have the Flash's powers?
No, you have to eat the Speed Force.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Sounds doable.
Yeah. So how it works is he's got this other world called the Void.
Okay.
And you can teleport in and out of that.
Right.
But it just means he has to eat 47 times his body weight in very dense materials.
So specific.
It's so... And everyone's like, quick, get him 47 times his body weight in dense materials quickly.
He's like one of these diabetics who has to carry like a Snickers bar around with them all the time, but it's just like concrete or something.
Well, no, he's like, so obviously the thing I've got to eat, diamonds, baby.
Oh, right. Oh.
So
the Mr. Freeze situation. Yeah. It's like the only way I can power my fridge suit is with diamonds. You just plug it into an outlet, you idiot.
So this is like the early Iron Man.
Yeah, he used to have to sit and plug himself in to charge up before he could go take on whatever racial stereotype he was taking on that week.
Yeah, but this issue starts then with the Flash just at, like, talking to a therapist. He's just at, like, a therapy session.
Okay.
And he's like, I think that maybe one of the writers had a therapist and they didn't like it or something, because every therapist in this, there's like 3 therapists and they're all useless. Because the Flash is like, oh man, my life's real hard and I'm quite unhappy with who I am. And his therapist is just like, hey, look at this fish I caught. Isn't it a cool fish? And he's like, come on, Doc, wake up and help me with my problems. And he's like, listen, it's not my problem.
That's an easy way to make a living.
Yeah, I know. I think they just didn't like therapists.
Yeah, maybe.
But then the door opens and the secretary comes in and she's like, hey, Doc, did you know that some giant guy is just robbing the diamond shop across the street? And he's like, great Scott, call the police. And she's like, oh, I already have, don't worry about it. I was just filling you in on this situation.
And then does he turn around and he's like, the Flash Barry Allen is gone.
This isn't Barry Allen, it's Wally Watson.
Is that his nephew or something? Or something like that?
Something.
Right, okay, yeah. Because there's... Wait, no, maybe it's his, like, half-brother? I don't know.
He looks identical.
I think... most of my knowledge of the Flash comes from like a few episodes of the CW show that I've seen, and I've seen him in like crossovers in Justice League and stuff. But I think he was Kid Flash and was like in the Teen Titans for a while, was he?
Maybe he's not a very popular Flash.
No.
He's
Is he the one with the yellow suit?
No, he's got the same suit as Barry Allen.
Okay, right. Wait, is it Wally West?
Wally West.
That's it. Yeah. I remember him. I think he's black in the show. And that's how I differentiate them.
Yes, yeah, maybe. But in this one, he looks just the same as Barry Allen.
Okay, right.
Yeah, he turns around and he's like, so what about that figure? Whoa, where'd he go?
Oh, no.
But there's also... He just doesn't care about his secret identity in this as well.
Right, okay.
Because he ran away and quickly put on his outfit, but he was also talking to his therapist about being the Flash.
Okay.
So
he knows.
Yeah, so maybe the secretary doesn't.
I've seen the Flash on occasion, like he just like shakes his head
shakes
super fast.
Yeah, no, he's not doing that here.
Okay.
He's just like
he's really just doesn't care.
He just doesn't care. So he gets there, and the Chunk is just robbing this diamond shop. So he starts punching him, but this guy he's like very overweight. He's like 7 to 8 feet tall, and he's kind of like the Blob in
right, yeah.
But just in like a professor's outfit, and he's just like, I don't care. He
just
also
takes the punches.
Yeah, he also has this thing where because his character was like unpopular, he's like, oh, I hate popular people. But he's never like popular people. He's like, oh, you smooth popular punks. And that's not something he says once. He just will refer to people he doesn't like as smooth and popular.
He's got some kind of like aversion to like smooth peanut butter that's just carried over into his hatred for people as well.
That's why he likes it chunky.
Oh damn! It's all coming together. DC, get us a job.
But yeah, so then the Flash is like, right, obviously his weak point is his stomach. So he starts punching him in the stomach, and this guy just vomits up all of those diamonds, and they like spew the Flash in the face, and he's like, it's like bullets.
Wait, so he hasn't digested the diamonds?
No, he's just put them in his mouth, and then he was punched in the stomach. So he just
how did he come to the conclusion that only diamonds could fuel him?
Science.
Okay. And I like that Wally's gone for his stomach, being like, we know that his stomach is capable of digesting a black hole or whatever, so that must be his weak point. Like, come on, it's the only part that's strong that we have like proof of.
Yeah.
Okay.
But anyway, the Chunk walks around a corner, and then there's like a minor earthquake, and
just coincidentally.
No, whenever he teleports, there's like a little earthquake, which is just like a little bit cool. It's just like everything shakes a bit because he's distorting gravity or whatever.
Right.
So the Flash runs around the corner. He's like, where did that guy go? He was too big to run. Well, I guess I'll just go home then. So he goes home, and throughout this whole run, there's like all this tension between his girlfriend and his mother has just moved back in with him.
Right.
And his mother's like, I made you ground beef, your favorite food. And the Flash is like, that's actually my least favorite food. I'm okay, Mom. And she's like, I hate my son.
Damn, no wonder this boy's at a therapist.
Yeah, like this is what he's talking about. And then she's like, I don't like your girlfriend either. And you're like, oof, she's a bit... And then, calm down there, Mom. But then she's like, because she's 14 years younger than you.
Oh.
Like, oof, maybe.
Wait, how old is Wally?
He looks like he's in his 20s.
Oh, God.
But then...
It's concerning.
Yeah. So I'm like, what is
maybe it's like a criminal therapist that he's visiting, and the therapist has so much like disdain for him that's why he's like, it's not my problem.
He must be like in his 30s, and his girlfriend is like 18 or something.
Huh.
But he's also crazy rich.
Right.
He's got this like giant mansion. So he goes home.
One of the sound waves looks really like a TIE fighter.
Oh, it does. Oh. That's cool.
We're gonna just point out every funny shaped
sound wave.
I'm just watching the sound waves go up and down, hoping that I'll find something interesting. Sorry to interrupt.
No, it's good. So he like pulls off the hood of his suit. He's like, oh God, my family. I wish I was back talking to my useless therapist. And then the police knock at the door and they're like, hey, Barry. But he doesn't, Wally, whatever. But he doesn't like put his hood back up. So I don't know why he has the costume, because he doesn't care.
He doesn't care.
Yeah.
Maybe it's already out at this stage.
Who knows?
Like, what are they going to do? Arrest me? Good luck catching me.
Well, they're like, we're going to arrest you. Speak to the town council. And they're like, hey, you cause a lot of trouble in this town. We don't want you. Get the hell out of here. And he's like, you can't make me. And they're like, yeah, we can. We're the council.
The ultimate authority.
It's just like, town council. It's not like the government or whatever. It's just a... But anyway, he's like, he's not happy about anything now. He's proper unhappy. And then the Chunk comes back.
Yeah.
And is like,
I need more diamonds.
I've already eaten all the diamonds in the city. So these two just like workmen get into a van and they're like, hey, John, what's in this van? Remind me. And he's like, 10 tons of gold, baby.
The obvious, is it like the diet substitute for diamonds?
Yeah. And then the guy's like, wow, if someone was really large, that would be like 47 times their body weight, and it's a highly dense material. And he's like, it sure is, John, it sure is.
It's so specific.
And then they turn the corner and just drive into the chunk who's just standing in the street, and the car just like hits him and crumples, like the van just crumples, and he lifts it and tears the door off, and
the wrapper off a chocolate bar.
Yeah, he's quite impressive how like physically strong he is.
Right.
And he starts just... Oh, no, he doesn't start eating it. He takes the whole van to his... the void, his other world.
Yeah.
So
it's kind of like the negative zone or something.
Yeah. And the Flash shows up, and he's like, you know what, Flash, you're causing me trouble. You can go there, too. So he gets sent to this weird Mad Max world.
This sounds pretty, like, low concept for... like the time, don't you think?
It is. It's it kind of reminds me almost of Stranger Things with the upside down.
Yeah.
But it's more, 70s otherworld where there's big rocky crags and there's pterodactyls flying everywhere.
Okay, kind of like Old Man Logan future or something.
Yeah. I'm getting a lot of like Mad Max vibes from it, especially because there's like a couple hundred people are in this place. And
does it explain how they got there?
Yeah, the chunk just sent them there.
Okay,
and
so they're previous enemies of the chunk.
Yeah, and it'll be like his therapist, someone who...
Everyone just hates his therapist.
His therapist is a big character, someone who like bumped into him in the street, a woman who turned him down, and then there's one man and he's like, I don't know why I'm here, I think he didn't like my shirt. And he's just...
Why did I imagine that as like Grandpa from The Simpsons? He's just kind of there.
I don't know why I'm here. But he's just like this guy with... He's got bald top, super long hair, a massive mustache, and then just the ugliest shirt you've ever seen in your life.
This sounds quite like self-referential and stuff. I'm looking forward to reading this.
Yeah, but then the Flash is like, okay, I'm just gonna go speak to the chunk. So he goes speak to the chunk, and he's like, hey man, just chill out. And the chunk's like, yeah, guess you're alright. I'll just chill out.
Is that the end?
Almost, because then... because there's like different tribes in this other world. They're like, this one tribe has all the women. We're gonna take them. And the chunk shows up. They're all having this big war. And the chunk shows up and he's like, lads, I'm hungry. Who has the diamonds? And everyone's like, we don't have any diamonds. So he just eats all the bad guys.
Oh.
Flash is like...
He sounds like he could be a pretty useful like disposal system for bad guys.
The chunk brings him back. Keep disposal system in mind, because the Flash brings him back. They're like, hey, listen, man, once you can do anything evil, but as soon as you invent something cool, you'll get a Nobel Prize and no one will care anymore. So he just starts like a disposal company. So people are like, oh, look at all this garbage we don't want. So he just sends it to the void.
Like pollution's just finished.
Yeah.
And does he get a Nobel Prize?
No, he just is like a small business.
Okay. Damn, he lied to me. So do you remember when Doc Ock walks in on the thing that he's about to explode and kill his wife in Spider-Man 2? And then James Franco's there, and he's just like, Nobel Prize, Otto, Nobel Prize. Why is that so funny? I wish every like evil scientist character got introduced with Nobel Prizes, like their incentive.
Yeah, and like I picked this character because there's so many cool things you can do with him, but he doesn't even
sounds like he's got promise.
At the end, he doesn't even fight the Flash. The Flash is like, man, stop sending people to this weird Mad Max world. And he's like, yeah, man, I guess you're right. I'll just send them all back after I've eaten. Oh, yeah, he eats his therapist as well.
Okay.
So, yeah, I think a Flash movie, I don't want another Flash movie where the villain is just someone who makes a tornado or someone who's super fast.
Yeah, another Speed Force speedster guy.
Because there's so many of them, and it's just, I don't think it's going to be that interesting on screen.
Yeah.
I think it would be a lot of, like in Justice League, just him. The only conflict is when he trips over, you know.
Wait, which of the 20 scenes where he trips over are we talking about?
All of them.
Oh, but he's so awkward when he trips, isn't he? So good.
He's so awkward. He doesn't get what brunch is.
Oh, no, it's like it's in between lunch and breakfast, and why would you eat during that time?
Why don't you just eat both, like me?
Doesn't he need to eat like loads of food though in order to keep his because he's so fast, he burns so many calories in his
metabolism. That's how he relates to the chunk. He's like, you and me, we both need to eat 47 times our body weight.
But in that case, why would he not understand brunch? Because surely he'd have to eat in between traditional meal times anyway.
Yeah, but he's too awkward.
Damn, he is awkward. You've really put things into perspective for me. I get it now.
Yeah, so I want a film where it's not just about the Flash running, because that's...
Yeah.
I know that's like...
Well, maybe if he can like pull stuff in as well as like black hole-y type things, then he could slow the Flash down.
He does this bit where the Flash is trying to run away, and then just like all this kind of energy is around him, and he pulls the Flash back towards him.
Nullifying powers are usually quite interesting in like a comic book sense.
Yeah, because once you get rid of the Flash's speed, I don't think he's like any stronger than your regular guy.
Okay. Yeah.
So if he could like pull the Flash towards him and then just punch him. Like
he could be done.
Yeah, it'd be bad for the Flash anyway.
Yeah.
So I think you could do something really fun where, part of this film could be set on this world where Flash is just dumped and there's no way for him to get back by himself because he's in like a parallel dimension or whatever. And maybe make it less, 70s alien planet. Like, every episode of Star Trek when they go to the planet and they just drove to the desert.
It just looks like kind of somewhere in California.
Yeah. It just looks like that, but there's a pterodactyl.
Okay.
I think instead of that, you could do something. You could do something cooler where it's kind of, like not like the Upside Down where it's just
but more horror oriented.
Yeah, not like the Upside Down where it's like it's our world, but there's moss. But like, but like, another like parallel of our world and make it more horror-y because this guy...
Horror would be interesting because there's a lot of good horror DC properties that they just haven't really touched into. And something like Lovecraftian would be really neat, like a Lovecraftian kind of barbaric world or something like that.
And it's just like there's so many things the Flash can do. If you put him in situations where there's just nothing he can do, then I think...
He's just a guy.
He's a fast guy.
Yeah.
But then you've got conflict. You've got problems that'll arise where all the things he can normally do...
he takes it for granted.
He takes it for granted, yeah. So I'd have a lot of that, and even the fact that it's not a teleportation thing like Nightcrawler where he's going around the place. He only teleports a couple times, but when he does, like everyone has to stand underneath the doorway and whatever. It's like it's a scary thing when he teleports.
Repercussions,
Yeah.
That'd be interesting if you could kind of tie the earthquakes from the other world to the real world in some way also.
Yeah.
If you could kind of, like, there'd be maybe, like, alternating repercussions for them or something like that. That might be. And who would you have playing this guy?
I didn't really have anyone in mind.
Okay.
Casting-wise, there wasn't anyone really coming to me. If you've got any ideas, he's a younger guy. He's like between his 20s and 30s.
Okay, right.
Because he's kind of just out of college when the experiment went wrong, and then it's only been a couple of years since then.
See, I've not seen a picture of this guy, so it's hard for me to say.
Do you want me to pull one up?
No, it's cool. Well, I mean, we can cast against. Like when you consider Michael Keaton played the Vulture, and like I've always seen the Vulture as like 90 years old and stuff. Yeah. So like, I don't know. You don't necessarily have to go for exactly the same either, do you?
No, but you want him to be a larger guy. He's African American.
Oh, he's African American.
Yeah.
Oh, right. See, in my head, when I was picturing this, I pictured like modern day Brendan Fraser, where he's kind of like a bit bigger and like chunkier.
Yeah.
Oh, he's African American. Okay, wow. So I guess in a film with the Flash, you're gonna have to bring some like star power into it because Ezra Miller is like he's a name people know, but I don't know everyone who's like, oh, I really love Ezra Miller. Yeah. Whereas you do have that for Ben Affleck and Henry Cavill and
it's almost like
Gal Gadot or Gadot.
When Ezra Miller is like a secondary character, it's like, oh, that's Ezra Miller, but it's very rare that you'd be like, oh boy, an Ezra Miller film.
Yeah. He's always a supporting character.
He is.
Yeah, that's strange.
So you'd want someone who could bring in some star power. So that's why I don't have anyone in mind.
Someone in their 20s or 30s. Interesting. Yeah. I'll have a think about that. Maybe I can come back to it later in the episode. Yeah, give us a shout in the comments if you can think of anyone that you think that would be good for that. Because we'd like to hear that.
And there'll be a picture up of him.
There'll be a picture up of him on the screen, which I'll edit in. using my vast editing experience and knowledge, I'll just put a picture on the screen. It takes a long time. Yeah. Though that being said, though, I completely didn't take into account how terrible our upload speeds are here, and it took us like 13 hours to upload the last issue or the first issue.
It was an overnight thing, and it just took so long.
Oh, it slows the internet down like nothing else as well. It takes me like 2 hours to load in just like a news page or something. So we're doing this
for you,
for the love of the podcast. Oh, also, I googled Deep Dive Podcast just the other day, and there's already a Deep Dive Podcast, which is like fishing and stuff.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so, I mean,
we should do a crossover.
There's no Deep Dive Cinema,
yeah.
Which is obviously the name of, like, the channel and the name of, like... I mean, hopefully, if this goes well, maybe we'd eventually be able to branch off into other kind of content videos and stuff as well. But
that would be cool.
So this is just, like, it's the Deep Dive Cinema Podcast, but Deep Dive Podcast, obviously, sounds better, so...
And obviously, there's only 3 types of podcast: cinema, D&D, and health.
Yeah, health. So I was listening back to that first issue, and I don't really know what you meant when you were like health, and I was just like, okay, like I've never. What's a health podcast?
There's like a huge amount of health podcasts that are just like, you should eat more spinach.
I love spinach.
Spinach is good, but like there's so many of them, and they're all about the same thing. It's really weird.
Drink lots of water.
Yeah.
That's usually I see on Instagram sometimes like, I drank 2 million liters of water a day, and now my cancer is gone. And I'm like, what? Okay, if it was that simple, I think we'd have worked it out by now. Yeah. Well, yeah. So no hate to you guys at Deep Dive Podcast, and good luck catching some big fish. Actually, we're both vegetarians, so maybe not good luck with the fish. But I wish you all the successes in your business.
Yeah.
Yeah. But Manchester Arena 25th. We're going, baby. Deep Dive versus Deep Dive
Cinema.
It's a tag team wrestling match.
Wrestling? It's not even boxing. It's just...
Yeah, well, I mean, it's Deep Dive, so we got to be able to like jump off the ropes in like a diving maneuver. Yeah, that's okay.
Get him.
Good. All right. Well, now that we've got that sorted out, we're going to move on to the next section.
Mm-hmm.
And this is not something that we've done in the first 3 podcasts that we've recorded, and bearing in mind this is only the second one we're posting because the first 2 were kind of like formative.
Yeah.
But I've got a question which I'm going to ask Elliot now, and he doesn't know what the question is, so we've not had any kind of prior discussion. So this could go really well or really terribly if you can't think of a good answer.
Expect a good answer or 5 minutes of me going,
Yeah, and we won't edit it out.
No, there's no editing.
There's just like a soft cough in the background every once in there. Okay, the question is, so just a little bit of context, Elliot and I are obviously brothers, and growing up we'd go to the cinema quite frequently. Not like a lot, but kind of every couple months, something like that.
Yeah.
And I wondered what you thought was the first film that you went to see in the cinema, and you were like, "This is not a good film," because when you're a kid, you'll watch basically anything.
Yeah.
But I can remember for myself what the first film that I came out of and was like, "Yeah, but that wasn't good." Like, do you have one of them? And if so, what is it?
I have not one where I came out, but I remember coming out of a film and being like, "Yeah, that was good." And someone being like, "Yeah, you'll watch anything though, won't you?" And then I was like, yeah, I will watch anything. And then like the next couple of days I was like, man, that film really stank. There was actually nothing good about that film at all. And then,
what film was it?
That was Martians in the Attic.
What?
And I
don't remember that.
It was just one of those movies they churn out, every summer. Yeah. And it was about, there was little Martians who came to a house when they were having like a family Thanksgiving gathering or something. And
did I see it with you?
I can't. It was awful.
How old would you have been at the time?
7. I would have thought.
7.
So it was just little CG aliens.
Right. And did it have like a Disney star at the time in it as like the pulling factor?
Yeah, it had. Do you know what are those films? Cheaper by the Dozen or something. There's always like an older sister in it who's blonde, who's always the same actress.
I don't
know. And she was in it again as the older blonde sister.
Oh, great.
Like her boyfriend shows up and like
he's a skateboarder type guy.
He's got a cool car.
Yeah, nice.
But the dad doesn't like him because he's a bit of a jerk. It was
wow. We could write this film just on like the stereotype like tropes that you've got.
That was the first one. I didn't leave it thinking
that was bad.
God, that was bad.
But over time.
But yeah, it was like within a couple days, I was like, actually, I need to rethink how I think about films, because that one was.
Well, it's true though. Like, you'd sit through anything as a kid, and it doesn't matter, and that's why, as a kid, you're able to sit down and just watch like the same film every day and stuff like that, and like you just don't really think about it. But
I remember our little brother used to every single day watch the. Was it DreamWorks? Robots.
Oh yeah, man, that was rough.
It was, and that was one where, because obviously I didn't go to the cinema and watch that.
Wasn't that Seinfeld in that film or something?
I'm pretty sure it was.
Seinfeld.
And it was like, it was a kids' film, but there was also like a lot of like weird innuendos.
Yeah. There was the robot with like the giant butt, like it was massive.
There was a lot of like adult jokes in there where like. Watching it again now, I'm like, that's just...
Yeah, the Simpsons effect.
Yeah, that's not... I'm unhappy watching this. Yeah. And that's another one where, obviously, I didn't come out of the cinema, but I remember having to sit with our little brother and thinking, can we not watch something else?
Yeah, but that's different, though, isn't it? Because that's kind of like, you've probably watched it so many times that you come to hate it just out of the... Yeah. Like, I have to see this again.
Also, when we were younger, we would get out... we suffered from the same problem, because when I was younger, I would get out every time we went to the VHS rental store.
Yeah.
I would get the 1998 Godzilla film. Man. Every single time.
Now, in fairness, I liked that when I was a kid as well, you know?
I loved that film when I was a kid.
It was only when I was like 12 or something and saw it again, and I was like, oh man... This is actually just no good whatsoever. He doesn't even look like Godzilla.
I downloaded an internet onto this floppy disk.
I was just talking to our dad about that the other day. He really does say, I downloaded our internet onto the floppy disk, and you're just... Come on, Ferris. Imagine, I wish that film would be so much better if it was Ferris Bueller's like midlife day off, and then just a dinosaur attacks the city. I'd watch that film so much better if he just kind of like looked at the camera every once in a while.
Or something. He studied worms. That was his job.
Yeah, he studies worms, and they're like, "You can take down this dinosaur."
Because his job was to go to places where there'd been radioactive spills and see how much the worms had grown. Right. And they were like, "Well, look, this iguana's bloody huge, isn't it? So you're the only one who can do this." And they used
Matthew Broderick.
They used human pregnancy tests on Godzilla to work out whether or not Godzilla was pregnant.
Oh, I'd never thought about that before. Would human pregnancy tests work on other mammals? I mean, I know Godzilla's not a mammal, but
I don't know, but I'm very certain it wouldn't work. Like, if you just went to the pharmacy, it wouldn't work on Godzilla.
We really got to... Next week, we're doing some experiments, boys. Oh dear. That film was...
Aliens in the Attic was the one for me.
You said it was Martians in the Attic.
Oh, maybe it was Martians in the Attic.
There's a film coming out like this, like now, called like Earl and the Aliens or something like that, which I can imagine it looks exactly like that. It's just that like end of the summer run, like there's a little bit of a lull and they're like, kids will watch anything and put this out. We'll get like one name in there as well.
Yeah, no, there was... I'm mixing up, because there's two movies which are very similar, which I both were like kind of the ones that... So there was Aliens in the Attic.
Yeah.
And then Mars Needs Moms.
Is that not recent?
It wasn't too recent, I don't think.
I swear, like last year, there was a Mars Needs Moms or something.
Oh, well, it definitely wasn't last year. But
how old are you?
Shut up. But that one was one where I was like, wow, this is...
Yeah.
Because I was kind of looking forward to it.
Right.
For some reason, and then I watched it, and it was just such a letdown.
The first film that I saw that I was like, this is bad, I think, as far as I can recall,
of course,
was Alex Rider.
Yeah.
We saw, it was a book series about a guy who's basically like a young James Bond, and oh, my mum's dead, and it turns out she worked for MI6. You're like, okay. And I don't even really remember the book, but I remember I liked some of those books at the time. And then
it was a big series. It was Anthony Horowitz, I
believe it was. Yeah, I don't remember anything about them other than he had like a childminder, like a nanny.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, she's probably attractive, and that was that's all I can remember. I was like, she's probably attractive, and that's about it. I think it was called like Storm Oath or something.
Stormbreaker was the first one.
Stormbreaker, that's it, yeah.
And the second one was Point Blank.
Yo, and I still say Point Blanc. because of that, and I got like relentlessly made fun of it by my housemate last year because he said point blank and I was like, I think it's point blanc, and then I got bullied. Thanks, Anthony Horowitz, if you're listening. I'm suing you for ruining my life.
Because I think the joke was it was on French.
Mont Blanc.
Yeah, it was on, but then shot point blank.
Yeah.
And that one was weird because there was like a South African man who was like, it was better when racism was when the white people ruled the world, and I'm just cloning myself.
What?
Yeah, he cloned himself because what he did was he brought in it was like a boarding school for the super rich boys.
Was he a white guy?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was boarding school for super rich white children.
Okay.
And for white boys.
Sounds French.
Yeah. And then he would for like delinquent ones, and then
super rich and delinquents.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, like, and breaking the law, they're like,
the
they got too much money, they don't know what to do with themselves. So he'd take them in, he'd kill them, and he had all these, like, clones of himself, and they'd just give those children plastic surgery, and he was like, now my legacy can live on.
No, that rings a bell, actually. It's kind of like the, what was the James Bond movie? The bad Pierce Brosnan one? I mean, they're all bad Pierce Brosnan. Die Another Day, isn't it? Something to do with, like, there's clones and they're all... So, yeah. They all have surgery to look like people or something.
Sounds about right.
Anyway, long kind of route we've gone down there, but yeah, that film was bad because I remember it was one of the first books that I read where like I could really vividly like imagine it, and I was familiar with a lot of like the London locations and English countryside that it was set in.
Yeah.
And I came out. Oh, there was something to do with a jellyfish as well, maybe in the book that they cut out or something like that. Is that right?
Yeah, in the first one, the bad guy had like a man of war jellyfish.
Yeah.
And someone like the evil secretary or whatever he kicks her into there, and he's like, something smells fishy or something.
Oh no. Well, yeah, it was something like that, but in the book I was like, that would be cool, and then I don't think it was in the film.
No.
Maybe it was vice versa, I don't recall.
No, it was definitely in the book.
I was upset, and then that was the first time that I was like, I could have done a better job with that. And then a while, I don't know, I'm fairly sure this was after it, but I'll have to check the IMDb pages for it, but I think that we then went to see like a Chimps in Space or something like that, which you wanted to see.
Why did every film I want to see about space and then it was bad?
Yeah, like Star Wars.
Oh, yeah, that one.
Yeah, it's real bad.
Guardians of the Galaxy.
Super bad.
Yeah.
2001: A Space Odyssey.
Oh, why did we go?
If a film, why did we go in 1967 when it came out? Wait, how old are you again? That's our new bit where we act like we don't know how old we are. It's gonna, people are gonna buy it. They're gonna eat it up.
You're old enough to have a beard, and I'm old enough to have glasses.
Now, if you think about it, though, like, surely kids under a certain age can't wear glasses because they just like pull them off all the time.
They've got like bands. They're like goggles.
Oh yeah. Oh, like dudes used to wear for football.
For football practice, they used to wear goggles.
When I used to play football for my local team, dudes with glasses would have to wear like goggles, and it looked very funny.
It did look very funny.
It looked like they just like jumped out one of their old timey like airplanes. I've parked my airplane around the corner. Let's go, tally ho! I'm playing defender today. Anyway, we've really gone off on all sorts of tangents, but yeah, Chimps in Space. I really struggled to sit through that in the cinema, and I was like, oof.
Yeah.
And then
I'd forgotten that until you brought it up, but that was an abysmal film.
Yeah, I never fell asleep in a film until only like a few years ago when I got picked up from somewhere and we all went to see Minions. Yeah. And I fell asleep like 20 minutes into that, and I say that as someone who really liked the Despicable Me movies, or I think I've only seen 1 and 2.
Yeah, I think the third one's along the lines of the Minions.
Oh, is it? Yeah, well, Minions was dreadful. So,
yeah,
that was... I hope to think that was our brother's awakening in this film is bad, but I don't know. He
was on board with it.
He was probably on board with it, yeah. But then again, so's our dad. He loves it. So,
I think so did our mother. I think it was just us who were like, why did we go to see this?
Yeah.
And the other three were like,
I kind of was there by obligation rather than anything. Yeah. It's a bit like a Jar Jar Binks situation, though, in itself, I think, where, like, when I was a kid, Jar Jar Binks was the best.
He was so funny.
And then I reached kind of, not even like my teens, when I was like 10 or whatever, I was like, God, he's lame. And I and then throughout my teenage years, I understood why, people hate him so much and suggest that he ruins the prequels and things. And then over time, I've just like redeveloped a soft spot for him. And I watched, we watched The Phantom Menace. This was many years ago now. Like I'd say maybe like 5 years ago at least. We watched it while we were on a trip somewhere or something. Yeah. And my brother was so young at the time. Not Elliot, who's here. My other brother. There's 3 of us.
Don't tell him. We could just keep name dropping brothers and they wouldn't know.
They don't know how many brothers there are. We have an army. And my father, and they both just love Jar Jar Binks so much they were like wetting themselves at Jar Jar Binks. Wait, is that Dad there? Hey, Dad. Hey, remember Jar Jar Binks? Yeah, he says yeah. And that's when I kind of was like, yeah, he's got his audience, doesn't he?
Yeah.
It's kids and not kids.
Kids and dads love him.
Yeah. So I don't know.
Which I guess is what he's there for,
Exactly. Well, he brought in a new generation into like into Star Wars, and he's a funnier character than we've ever had before.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
That's a George Lucas quote.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's like it all comes down to if Jar Jar Binks works, because he's a funnier character than we've had before. And obviously it worked. Flying colours.
So everyone loved that film.
Yeah. Okay. So let's move on. Let us know if you have any kind of first films that you saw and was like, yeah, this was.
That was a good question. Though. I wasn't expecting it, but it was good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So fun. We were talking the other week about like the chosen one.
Yeah.
In films and how that's reoccurring, and I recently watched The Darkest Minds, which you were like, is that just X-Men but preteens? Kind of. And I want you to just think about what are all of the worst tropes of YA films, and we'll see how many young adult films, and we'll see how many we knock off.
Dystopian future.
Okay, yeah.
Main character is a plucky, feisty girl.
Okay.
Everyone's split into factions for some reason.
Okay.
It takes like one training scene to become the best at whatever skill you have.
Mm-hmm.
Love triangles? Yeah.
Falling in love.
Okay, no, hold on. That's 5. Mentor who dies in the first one.
Okay, yeah, okay. Looking strong.
Kind of like a weird mix of weaponry where some people have like laser guns and some people have just like sharp sticks.
Yeah.
And like a crap color palette in the film. Like it just looks garbage.
Yeah. And then I think like falling in love instantly with one of them is another one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Or being like, I don't need to fall in love with anybody, and I'm impervious to it for some reason, and then inevitably someone with blue eyes and dark hair walks by, and they're like, oh damn.
Yeah. Okay. So that's what 8. Every single one of those is in this film.
Good.
Apart from the mentor doesn't die, he's in a coma at the end.
Okay, so we can keep him just in case there's a sequel.
Yeah.
Right.
But apart from that, literally every single one of those is in the film.
Great. Just what we needed.
Just what you needed. And it really annoys me because the powers make no sense. In all of the trailers, she's like turning into dust like a Mr. Stark, I don't feel so good.
Okay.
That's not her power.
That's her power.
She's not able to do that.
What? So why did she do it in the trailers?
Because her power is, like, she can make people forget about her. And then,
okay.
like...
Wait, isn't there actually a character called Forget-Me-Not who's an X-Man who does that?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
But whenever she's making people forget her, in the memory, she turns kind of to... It's not even the same design as it is in the posters, but she disappears, kind of like when Hermione does it in Harry Potter.
When does Hermione disappear?
Hermione wipes herself from her parents' memories, and it shows like all of the pictures, and she disappears from them.
Oh, like a Back to the Future type thing?
Yeah.
Like, so it looks like that?
Yeah, she just kind of like wisps away.
Okay.
So in it, all the kids either die...
Sorry, I just remember when Hermione turned into a cat. Did that with prosthetics for some reason. It looked so bad.
That was before the third one when they took a dark turn, so you were still able to just have a character turn into a cat.
She looked like the Cowardly Lion from The Wizard of Oz.
She did.
Oh, sorry. Okay, let's go on.
Yeah, okay, so all the kids either die or get superpowers, and you can only have one of 5 superpowers.
Which would you prefer?
to die or have superpowers?
Yeah.
Probably die. I mean, like in this film, it's not good.
Okay, so they get superpowers,
and you can only have one of 5 superpowers, and the most.
Wait, so it like the factions are what superpower you have? Okay.
On the front cover, there's someone who's got electricity and someone who's lifting, and I'm like, oh, there's gonna be all these powers. It's
lifting
gonna be cool.
Just weights?
No, just lifting a car or something.
Okay, right.
And I was like, oh, there's gonna be all these powers. It's gonna be so cool. No, like everyone who's on the front, the poster is just one of each type.
Right.
So.
Okay. So we've exhibited everything this film has to offer.
Yeah, so there's the most basic...
Wait, no, hold on. Does it turn out she can do all 5 and they're like, you're the chosen one?
No, she is still the chosen one.
Right. Okay.
So
it's like the last Airbender all over again.
Yeah. So, like, the weakest ones are the most people, and the rarest ones are the most powerful.
Okay, that makes sense.
Okay, and they're all color-coded.
Okay,
Because,
right.
of course, they are. So, I think the bottom one are blues, or greens, or something. Blues, I think, who are just smarter than a normal child.
They're just gifted children. That's their superpower.
They're like, are you good at puzzles? And she's like, yeah. And like, oh, I guess you're a blue then.
Okay, good.
So then the next weakest power is being able to control electricity. There's like a 5-year-old girl who has this power, and in one thing she kills like a dozen people. So I don't know why that's the weakest one.
Right.
The next strongest is telekinesis, like moving stuff with your mind.
Okay.
But that varies so wildly. It could be either, at one point, the love interest is trying to stop a car, so he's flinging like just twigs at it, and he's like, this is gonna stop him. And at the end of it, he's like, oh, quick. And he just like topples a building on someone.
Why didn't you do that earlier?
There's no... Sometimes you can do anything you want, and sometimes you can do nothing at all.
So it's whatever the plot requires.
Whatever the plot requires.
Yeah.
Next up is Reds, who are just Satan. They can just breathe fire and they look like demons.
Okay.
And then the rarest one, which
are they gold?
No, that's orange. Gold is the people who can lift stuff with their mind.
Oh.
Oranges, for some reason, is the top one, and that's what our lovely lass is. And she's
I've not seen any trailers for this. I've seen a couple of posters. Is she like ethnically ambiguous as well?
Yeah,
okay, right. Yeah. Okay.
They have to be.
Yeah. And so everyone can relate a bit.
And she's like, I'm the only one left. I'm the strongest of all the teens.
And her power is?
Her power is she can like control people slightly. Do you remember in X-Men Origins Wolverine?
Is that kind of like telekinesis though as well, I guess?
Telepathy?
Oh, it's telepathy, yeah, you're right. Okay.
Do you know in X-Men Origins Wolverine, there's his girlfriend can touch people and tell them what to do.
Yeah. She's
kind of like that.
Okay.
And for some reason, because kids died, it's the apocalypse. Like, no...
Wait, just all... Okay, so if you didn't get superpowers, you're dead.
Yeah.
Okay, so no adults have superpowers?
No.
Okay, and how long does this happen?
It's like 3 years.
Does it say why or how they died?
No. They just died. It shows like a girl and she's in the classroom and then she falls over dead. And they're like, she was the first one. Well, the first one in my class anyway.
Okay.
And they just send all of the superhero kids.
Well, what an unnecessary tangent to go on. Like, she was the first one. Well, I don't know. There could have been people before her. I didn't time it exactly at the point of death, but she was the first one that I was aware of anyway. So, getting back to the story, like, why?
It was so unnecessary. But it's just like all the kids are sent to a concentration camp where they make shoes. And she tricked them into thinking she was only a simple blue and was good at puzzles, when actually she was bad at puzzles and could control people.
Damn. That must suck if you're a blue and it's like, haha, I'm a stupid blue. And I'm like, damn, this is my life.
At the start of it, they're going for kind of like a Rogue from X-Men thing, where if she touches someone, she removes herself from their memory. So she's like, I love this boy, but I can't touch him. At the end, they're just making out and nothing happens, so I don't know what happened.
Iceman put like an icy veil on his lips, like in that one episode or one X-Men movie.
Yeah, I don't know. There's so many times the powers just change halfway through the film.
Yeah.
But she ends up escaping, and she teams up with a bunch of guys, and the smart guy teaches her how to be, and she falls in love with this dark-haired, blue-eyed boy who can move stuff with his mind. But they've got like the most forced relationship you've ever seen in
Why
a
would you
movie.
need actual chemistry?
He's like, hey,
I feel like the casting for that usually just goes like find an attractive person, and they don't do any screen tests.
No,
for,
they're just like, yeah, he's pretty hot.
Yeah,
he looks like
he's in.
He looks like he could be a Hemsworth, so I guess he has the role.
Yeah, does he look like he could have an 8-pack? I mean, we're not allowed to check because this guy's 16, but might he?
He might too.
Okay, well, he's in.
He has nice-ish arms.
Okay, good, he's in.
He's like, hey man, I know you don't have any socks, so here's a spare pair of my socks. She's like, oh, I would never fall in love with a boy, but this guy gave me socks.
Does he like take his socks off his feet?
No, that'd be disgusting.
Damn, if he gave her his hoodie as well, like she'd be smitten.
Yeah, it's so because all four of them, there's like an electricity guy, a moving with your mind guy, a smart guy, and her. They're all in the one motel room.
Okay.
And she's having a shower, and he knocks at the door to give her socks, and she comes out in like just a towel and cover up, man. What are you doing? Everyone's just looking at you. She's like, oh, thank you for these socks.
I'm definitely gonna really go as far out of my way as I can to not see this movie.
Just aggressively not watch this movie.
If it's on, I'm gonna just like close my eyes and hum as loud as I can.
She goes to a camp, which is the same as
are they all like in their 30s playing teenagers as well?
Apart from the 5-year-old who just doesn't
speak.
Speak.
Okay. I saw Debbie Ryan from like Disney Channel and stuff is playing like a teenager in some Netflix show, and like I don't know how old she is, but she's got to be 30.
Insatiable or something, wasn't it?
I only saw it because people are upset because she plays a fat person and she's not actually fat.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, say about that what you will, but like sure, she's got to be like 30 now, right?
Surely.
What show was she in? It was like before my time on Disney Channel.
I don't know what it is.
Okay, yeah,
that's how long ago it was. Gwendolyn Christie, who's in Star Wars and Game of Thrones. She's in it in like an awful wig for 5 minutes, just so they can have some famous person in it.
Oh, the After Earth effect, where who was it in After Earth? There's some like really big actress, and they're like,
oh, put her in there for 2 seconds.
Yeah.
No, but
who was the version of that for like Twilight?
I don't know if there was any like big name in Twilight.
I guess Dakota Fanning was in it.
Oh yes, she was.
Dakota Fanning, I often refer to her as the worst Fanning.
Yeah.
Sorry, Dakota.
Sorry. She's one of our listeners. We just lost a subscriber.
Damn, that's a quarter of our subscribers gone.
But she goes to this camp where it's a haven for children, and she meets the president's son, who's also an orange. But then he like tries to sleep with her in a mind palace. And
I've already stopped knowing what the colors mean, and I just don't have any like motivation to try and recall.
To try and remember.
Okay. It sounds terrible. Yeah, I'm not gonna see it.
There's everything I hate about films is just in this one. It's trying so hard to be just everything that every successful white. There's a bit in it where they just start talking about Harry Potter, like, hey, you remember that?
Oh, hey, remember this thing that you all liked? Well, maybe you like this thing if we relate to it too.
Because there's like a dance going on at this camp for children, and
wait, so it's a concentration camp, but they dance?
No, they escape the concentration camp and go to it's like a concentration camp, but it's colorful,
like a Never Ever Land, like haven for lost children.
Yeah.
Okay.
But one guy who can teleport, like lift things with his mind, is lifting up some candles, and she's like, "Wow, it's just like Hogwarts." And the love interest is like, "Yeah, so I guess that makes you Harry, right?" Haha. And she's like, "Yeah, that's me, because I'm also the chosen one." He's like,
or worse, expelled.
And he's like, well, I guess that makes me Ginny? And
what?
And she's like, well, you know they ended up together. And he's like, oh, that's not what I meant. I just, for some reason, decided I was that character. And she's like, no, it's okay.
You're more like Dobby.
She's like, no, it's okay. I like them together. Like, why are you just bringing up another?
That sounds so painful.
Yeah. And then he's like, let me lift you up so we can dance.
Why does she need lifting?
So he can show that he has superpowers. In case you forgot, that's what the song was about.
With his mind.
Yeah.
Well, I just pictured him like just lifting her in like a fireman's lift.
It's basically the same thing, but with no contact.
I'm really just not happy even listening to this. I can imagine everyone like squirming in the theater.
That's one thing where like I want to leave the cinema, but I also I want to see how many of these tropes we can knock off.
Yeah, because
the villain at the end isn't dead, even though she killed him. He's back, baby.
Or everyone starts like celebrating and hugging before checking that the villain is definitively dead.
Yeah, and he gets up and he's like, I'm the Mandarin.
Oh no.
Yeah.
This is a crossover I didn't expect. Does Harry Potter exist in Marvel?
I would presume so.
Hmm.
I feel like Spider-Man's probably going to be like, hey, do you remember that really old movie, The Sorcerer's Stone, in the next one?
And then some British character will be like, no, it's the Philosopher's Stone, and they'll get into like a fist fight over it.
Civil War II.
This time it's Harry Potter.
I hope that...
Wait, are there actually any British Avengers? I can't think of any. Like, there's loads of... Yeah, I suppose. There's loads of British actors, isn't there? Like,
there's so many British actors, but they're all playing Americans.
Yeah, it's weird, that.
Yeah, there's like the British version of the Avengers where it's like Union Jack and whatever. There is like...
There's Captain Britain as well.
There's Captain Britain, there's like...
Someone said Simon Pegg should play Captain Britain. I was like, I'd be so down for that.
That'd be so funny.
Imagine Simon Pegg got, like, ripped.
Imagine if he just didn't get ripped. Imagine if he's
just got
with his Simon Pegg body and he's standing
I don't know why I say pot belly. He's not fat at all. No, he's like skinny.
Yeah, just him next to like
Cap,
just like, hey,
funny.
What's going on, man? We're also captains.
Who else is British? Like, there's Blade is British, isn't he?
Is he?
I'm fairly sure Blade is British. Yeah.
Oh, I guess.
I guess like Professor X is British, isn't he? Is he?
Sometimes he is, sometimes he's not.
Okay, right. Maybe I'm just thinking of Patrick Stewart's voice. I don't know. Yeah, I feel like he's British, right?
He kind of feels like he is, if you get me.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a surprising... I'm sure there's loads that we're just overlooking.
Yeah, there probably is, but I hope in like 2024 they're like, he's like, hey, do you guys remember that really old film Iron Man?
Yeah.
They've been making them for so long.
Actually, speaking of which, there's a really good theory which I had and shared with some of my friends a while ago, which I'm sure I've even mentioned to you in passing before. But we're coming up on an hour now, so I'm going to type that down so that I can talk about it first thing next week.
Okay, perfect.
Great, I'm just going to type it in there on my laptop. And on that note, I think we should probably... Oh, yeah. What's your rating of Darkest Minds before we go?
Out of 10?
No, out of... We need our own unique rating system so that everyone remembers us.
Alright, well, we're just going to come up with it right now, I guess.
Okay, it's epic or...
This is definitely a...
Okay, right. Not epic.
Not, yeah. We'll come up with a rating system which is best out of 5, good or bad, who knows.
Also, just before we go, I've come up with a casting for Crunch.
the chunk.
Yeah, that's it. It's Simon Pegg.
Oh, Simon, the classic African American actor. He's very large.
Yeah, well, I forgot to think about it as we were talking, and he's the only actor I can think of now, so that the casting's confirmed.
The character from Darkest Minds, the mentor, the smart guy, is also called Chunk.
Is he really?
He used to be fat, so we'll bring him back.
Damn, it's the crossover we didn't know we needed.
Yeah.
DC, yeah. You've got finally a good film in the fold. It's The Darkest Minds.
But yeah, right. that was, I hated that film, so that's a blah from me.
Okay, well,
it was
I've not watched it, but I'm gonna tell people I have, and that it was a rating.
Every bad trope possible was in it, and they didn't try, and no one seemed happy to be there. So that's my cup of tea.
Great. Well, we're going to wrap up then. Thank you very much for listening. We're just coming up on an hour, so we're like a minute shorter than last week. Yeah, thanks for listening. Please feel free to share, leave a comment, any of that kind of fun stuff that we're supposed to promote in order to maintain channel growth and what have you.
Hey, listen, guys, you've seen another YouTube video. You know what you're supposed to do. Please.
Yes, exactly. Like an epic subscribe.
Check out my Vimeo.
What? We don't have a Vimeo. Please don't check us out on Vimeo. And next week I'm going to do my crap character, so I better get reading some stuff so I can find some material. And I've got a good film theory about MCU Spider-Man and Uncle Ben.
Okay, I'm looking forward
to it. All right, great.
All right,
Thanks very much for listening. Bye.
Bye-bye.